This last video, I just want to share some miscellaneous tips and tricks with using Anki on a day-to-day basis. Okay, the first one I want to talk about is just the importance of syncing. Okay, just the importance of syncing. Once again, I can't stress this enough. Every time you study on Anki, you need to press the sync button after every single time you've studied. What that does is it sends your study data of how that session went for you back to your online account, and it links it all up. This is especially true. This is especially true if you have the Anki app on your phone and are studying from your phone as well. So, think for example, if I studied like 3 days, um, if I studied like 3 days in a row from my Anki app on my laptop, did not sync, and then the rest of the 4 days, and then I went to go and if I didn't sync it, then the next few days following those 3 days, I went to study on my phone. I wouldn't actually see the new progress of the data. I would just see those. I would be starting back at the first day, if that makes sense. Okay, and what ends up happening, being really complicated, is when people don't sync up for a long amount of time, it actually like gets the two applications between your phone and your laptop get really confused, and you end up losing some of the data that and the software gets really confused and forgets how you were learning certain flashcards. So the easiest way to do this is to press sync data. Like, that's literally, I can't stress that enough. After every single session, you got to press that sync data button. Okay, so that's the first thing. But the second thing is going to be about creating parent decks. Okay, creating parent decks. So as you guys notice here, I have some complete Urdu from the complete Urdu textbook, and I have chapter 1, chapter 1, part 2, chapter 1, part 3. It was 3 different decks that I made a few years ago when I was first learning. I have chapters 12 through 17. I have chapter 1. I have a lot of different things, and you'll notice that you know that to be able to study each one, I have to physically go in, click each one, study it, and then come out, click this next one, study it, come out, click the next one, study it, come out. And the problem with that is once you start studying this chapter 1, part 1, for a while, or chapter 1, part 3, you'll see that for me today, there's none due at all. It'll just start. You won't actually be able to study in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called creating a parent deck. So what I'm going to come up here and do, and this is especially applicable as we get into having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 uploads of you creating a deck as a cohort. You're going to want to be able to create a parent deck, and so I'll show you exactly what that means. So you're going to go to create deck here, and we're going to type in. We'll just make it. We'll call it complete Urdu parent deck. Okay, I'm going to press OK. Boom. Okay, so complete Urdu parent deck. You'll notice that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop all of those underneath the complete Urdu parent deck, all lined up. Okay, and you'll notice what happened is from that complete Urdu parent deck, I can now come in. It says there was on this do button there were 7 from chapter 1, part 2. Chapter 1, part 1, there was 2. Complete Urdu chapter 1, there's 1, and then there's a few new ones as well. It adds all that up into one single deck, 10 and 4, and now I could just click this and study all of them at one time. What this helps you do, one, is have to only study one deck a day. You don't have to jump to a bunch of different decks. But the second thing it helped you do is the software is smart enough where it kind of triages and figures out what words do you need to learn most today. Okay, so it may not pull a lot from the chapter 1 deck because it knows you're learning part 2 a lot more, and so it's pulling a lot more from there, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's the way that you complete a parent deck. Okay, another thing I want to show you guys, one more miscellaneous thing, as we get into having a lot of decks. You might notice you can come down here and see, like, oh wow, this is like Hindi vocabulary. This one particular deck has 400 flashcards. Okay, that's a lot of flashcards. And if I'm asking you guys to do maybe 5 to 10 minutes of study a day, okay, I'm not going to be able to get through those 400 flashcards. So what I need to do is I need to set limits for every day on how many flashcards I'm actually seeing. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to options, and then whatever it is. Usually it's the basic or default, for example. And you have an option here to say, how many new cards a day do you want to see? You can set a limit for that. So usually I set the limit to about 3 or 4, okay? And you don't have to worry about graduating interval, ease interval, anything like that. I usually just worry about new cards a day I want to see, and then I go up here to reviews. How many reviews do you want to see? So instead of 400 reviews a day, I may just want to see at max 20. That doesn't mean I'll see 20. I might see 5, okay? But at max 20. So I'll go in and say okay. And now all of a sudden that Hindi vocabulary, it's showing me, it's going to show me 22. So there might be 2 new ones plus, plus 20 under other reviews. If that makes sense. So that's how you can kind of set the parameters on your parent deck. Sometimes you may have to come in and play around with the default things like that, but we'll get to that later. You don't have to worry about that right now. Okay, all you need to worry about is some of these miscellaneous things. That's really it about Anki. It's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it, but it does take some time to get used to. But that's it, guys. Good stuff.